Hi Pallavi, good afternoon.
Hi Anu, nice to see you.
Likewise, and Pallavi, how was the gig that you had planned for 5th? How did it go?
Oh, how lovely of you to remember. It was not bad at all actually. The client loved our work, and I'm having another meeting, so we are going to discuss something for the future.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
So happy to hear that. And Pallavi, I must really thank you for volunteering for this demo session.
It's my absolute
Thanks a
pleasure,
ton.
Anu.
Thanks a ton. So, Pallavi, what would you like to discuss today?
I have been thinking about this. I knew you would ask. So, I think I'm struggling with some parts when it comes to work. And as you know, I'm working with Goodwill PR. It's a PR company. And I'm responsible for client relationships in my business unit. Um, my struggle is around balancing long term and short term goals. So I always go behind these short term revenue. These are aggressive goals and they're very, very critical for the success of the company. But I'm not able to give enough time for strategic planning, that is to do with the vision of the company. And so, yes, it's difficult for me to balance these two. So I think that's what I would like to discuss.
So, Pallavi, you use this word balance.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to you?
What balance means to me, if my work has two legs, then I see it as one leg in the short term, where I kind of have to achieve the revenue goals. Again, very important for the company. And at the same time, thinking about the strategies for the future, how I will scale up my business. So if I'm able to do that consistently, then I think that's how I define balance.
Okay. Thank you so much, Pallavi, for clarifying and helping me to understand. I was just wondering about how much clarity do you have on your long term strategic goals and your vision? Um, can you help me with that?
Um, I think when I say long term, I it always has to do with how I can do certain things that are profitable for the business. So, for example, working on the website. So, honestly, it's been 3 years, it's been clunky, and I want to work on the content. So, I want to showcase what we are doing, what we are offering, and how we have grown as a company in the last decade, but that hasn't happened. I think another thing that I see as a long term goal is maybe finding newer clients and thinking of strategies to develop better bonds with the clients. And I think the third thing will be creating certain products or online courses that can be monetized later, but the work on the content needs to be done right now. But as I'm talking to you right now, I don't think I've given time to really understand what or where I see our business in the next 10 years. So I think I need to prioritize that. So, yeah.
Uh, Pallavi, how do you feel when you're not able to manage your short term and long term goals?
um, it's quite frustrating actually because I feel like a firefighter. So like something comes up and I need to like go and deal with it. But at the same time, not being able to do something about what I have in mind. And but I also feel that this is very important for the success, and being successful is important for me. So yeah, it's quite frustrating.
And you use this word successful and success.
Yes.
So, what do these mean for you?
The first thing that comes to my mind is reaching my revenue targets. But that is not the only important thing. I think success to me means delivering quality work, having very good relationships with the clients, and also, receiving positive feedback. So, like a full circle. So, yeah, that's how I define success.
Thanks, Pallavi. And was a little curious as to why, today you brought up this particular topic for our conversation.
Um, Now that I'm thinking loudly, I think it's more to do with the fact that intellectually, like on that level, I know what needs to be done, how it needs to be done. But there's no tangible action, or, there's no, what do I say? No action towards that thought. So I think that's what has got me talking about this.
As you're sharing this, Pallavi, what are some of the feelings you are experiencing?
Um, it's good and bad. It's a mixed bag, actually. So good because, well, the work is good. I'm being appreciated. I'm delivering good work, and the feedback is great. I'm busy, but with that, I think it's also about what I was talking earlier, and overall, it can get frustrating because I'm not able to do what I want to. So, yeah.
So, when you're not able to do what you want to, um, what happens?
Um, when I am sensing these feelings at any point of the day, I tend to get quite frantic, and I react to it. So, for example, if I'm feeling like that and I'm like, I need to do something about it, so I'll call a team. I'll start working on the website, for example, and then I'll get another call which has to do something with the short-term goals. So I'll obviously take that path because success at that moment is important. So yes, that's what typically happens.
And so, today, in today's conversation that we are having, Pallavi, what is the specific outcome you'd like to work towards?
Um, well, I kind of want to have a solution to this because I've been thinking about this for a while. So, probably one or two tangible actions that I can take. Um, yeah, something that I can take home and really do something about.
Right. So, one or two tangible outcome is what you're looking
Absolutely.
at. And how would we know? What would be measures of success? How would we know that we've achieved these outcomes?
Um, I'm a paper pencil person, so if I have to do something, I kind of have to write it down. So at the end of the conversation, we can probably like have two things that or behaviors that I need to achieve. So I can literally write it down. Yes.
Thank you for sharing that, Pallavi. May I ask you, what makes it difficult for you to find the time to balance between your short and long term goals?
Um, I have thought about this. I think it's almost the same reason that I cannot say no to a client. For example, the other day a client called and it wasn't much work. It was only for like 2 hours and a few thousand rupees worth. But I still ended up saying yes to the client because I just couldn't say no because I was afraid that that would spoil the relationship or that would make the client feel that um, his work is beneath my time. So lacking discrimination, basically, I think it's very difficult for me to say no.
And what really happens? I mean, what are you telling yourself that makes it difficult for you to say no?
Um, I think there are two things. One is that I would obviously love maintaining that good relationship with the client, and I'm constantly thinking what that client might feel. And the second thing is that since I am dealing with profit and loss, I tend to think in a way, tend to think, make hay when the sun shines because today I have work. What if I don't have work tomorrow and I have to report it? So that's constantly on my mind. But in general, I think it's difficult for me to say no.
And why is that so?
Um, I think I feel like I might disappoint the person I'm saying no to.
So, Pallavi, I heard you say that your belief is that you might disappoint people.
Yes.
So, where does this belief come from?
Mm, I think I'm afraid that if I say no, that person might think that I don't care about them. I think it's that comes from there.
And is this a verified belief?
Not at all. I keep making these stories in my head all the time about how the person might feel, might behave, or what that person might say, how that person will react. And it's all in my head. I'm pretty sure it's unverified.
So, what else goes on in your head?
Um, I think in all areas of my life, not just work, I tend to make these stories up. And it's quite challenging to deal with that because you're already assuming something. But then I think I'm giving myself too much importance. Probably if I say no, that client will still be happy but will go to another person, and it's not a big deal.
Suppose you ask somebody for a favor or a request, and they said no to you. How would you respond?
Mm, I think it all depends on how it is phrased or articulated. So if the person is like, "Hey, this is the reason why I'm saying no," and probably if the person gives another option, you can go to this person and you can try this out. Then it's very easy to take in a no. But if the person is rude in mm, denying whatever it is, I think that puts me off.
And so, if you had to say no to a request,
Definitely.
how would you do that?
Let me think. I think definitely referring to what I said, I will put it in a certain way. Or I think I'll take some time. If a client calls, I can say, I can get back to you in a while, and then think about it, analyze. And I think emailing is a great idea because often um, when you're directly speaking to a person, for me it's difficult to say no, but in an email I can like say whatever I want. And I think I can make a checklist or a flow chart of the things that I need to think about before I say yes or no. So yes, that will be a great help.
Pallavi, we've been conversing for some time now, and I wanted to just inquire, how is the conversation going for you?
It's going very well. It's very insightful. So thank you for listening, actually. And it's almost like a mirror put on my thoughts and feelings. So because I'm frustrated, I think this is helping me a lot. Thank you.
Welcome. And Pallavi, if I had to use two terms, and I say short term Pallavi and long term Pallavi,
Okay.
what comes to your mind in terms of actions and behaviors when you hear this?
Mm, I see short-term Pallavi as generous, definitely service-oriented, and a person who delivers high-quality work. And as long-term Pallavi can be somebody who's not looking at just 15 or 30 clients, but like expanding all over the world. But I also see her as more focused and more composed, I can say, not frantic. And at the same time, although I think I want to be strategy oriented, I also want to be service oriented. So I think, yes, that's long term and short term Pallavi.
So, when Pallavi is long term oriented, service oriented, strategic oriented, what kind of decisions does she make?
Definitely, I will base my short term goals on my long term goals. So I'll first set my long term goals, and keeping that end in mind, I will, what do I say, back calculate what I need to do right now. although I'm very happy with what is happening right now, it's not that I'm sad about it. I am successful, and it is very, very important. But I think the long term goal will always be something that I will think about when I'm deciding something.
So I can really sense that this is very, very important to you.
It is.
Pallavi. You had earlier mentioned that, at an intellectual level, you know all this.
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering, how will you bring it to the operational level?
Mm, I think I just need to take some time out, like a few hours in a day or a couple of days in a week, to think about the future and what I want and how I will do it. And but at the same time, I also feel that I am a consultant and I help others plan all these things, but it hasn't helped me for a while. Like, I'm not able to help myself. So probably working with an outside consultant might be a good idea.
Well, that's certainly a possibility to look at. Uh, Pallavi, you've been running a very successful business.
Thank you.
And I was just wondering, what are your core strengths that that have helped you to have such a great business?
On top of my mind, I think definitely relationships with the client, developing good work, good business, and delivering good work, I think.
And in the context of what we are discussing, which is balancing,
Hmm.
how do you think these strengths could be used?
Um, I think when it comes to the relationship with my clients, um, I ace that because I am good with people and I am empathetic. And how do you think that might work?
I would be very interested in knowing what you think.
Um, I'll have to think about this. If so, I can probably talk to my clients more on a personal level when it comes to how they are planning to go ahead, and we can weigh our ethics, work ethics, and think of a future later or a partnership, and then help each other out parallelly and go ahead. I think that is how I can work with that particular strength.
And you mentioned you have very good, strong client relationship and strength. So, if, for example, you might say no to a small request, do you think your clients would take it well?
Again, I think it's about how I phrase it, and I think it's high time that my no has value, because then I think people will take me seriously as well. And I think if we work around the quality of work, if we discuss that, and if I help others also reach that level of quality, I think that is another thing that might help me.
So, Pallavi, what would you like to do at this stage now?
I think maybe think of certain actions, like how do I go about this? How do I take a step forward?
And how would you do that?
Like we discussed earlier, I think step one would be to have a clear idea about my long-term goals or vision. So crystallizing that, finding time to do that. Secondly, I think the checklist that I was talking about. So if a client calls, I need it right in front of me, and if I tick off all the 5 points, then I go ahead with that. And the third thing is definitely blocking some time out to actually work on these things. So yeah, that is key.
Pallavi, would you need any support to make this happen?
Definitely, it's a big yes, because I've been managing myself for a very long time. So I think I need like an external accountability, a person whom I might go to, and yes, that'll help.
And do you have in mind what kind of a person you're looking at?
Maybe an entrepreneur buddy. who's in the same business or probably into profit and loss, if not the same business. And yeah, that sounds like an idea.
And any other options?
I've heard about these communities online
Mhm.
who anonymously discuss these things. So I think that will also be a good idea.
And I think you had also talked about maybe hiring an external consultant.
Oh yes, I did. Yes. Oh, I think out of all these options, I can go for the entrepreneur buddy. That sounds interesting.
Okay.
I'll write it down.
Yeah, you said you are a paper and pencil girl.
Yes, and I think we're coming up with a lot of solutions.
Palvi, is there any specific support you might need from me as your coach on this?
Um, yes, because it has been like a mirror. It has been like I'm talking to myself and looking at my thoughts, um, and it has helped me come up with these solutions. So I think I will need your help in reviewing as I go ahead with these actions.
Sure, and I'll be delighted to be that mirror for you, Pallavi. And so, when do you think might be a good time for us to do that review?
I think since I've put these down on paper, around in like around 15 days, so that I can work towards it, and whatever happens I can come and review it with you.
I think that sounds really good. So, I'll send you a calendar invite around it. Would that be fine?
Yes, that'll be perfect.
Pallavi, what might be some insights you would have gained from our conversation today?
I think the biggest insight was me reflecting on my certain belief systems and how they make me behave in certain ways. So that was incredibly insightful.
And is there some way in which these belief systems, you could examine them in other parts of your life too?
I guess in general, when I'm like in that zone or thinking in a certain way, I can quickly come to what beliefs I'm having at that moment, and then that will help me take the next action. And another thing, I loved how you flipped that question about saying no. So it really helped me reflect on how I would behave. So that is.
Thanks, Pallavi. And just wanted to ask you, how do you think we are on the outcome that you had wanted for today?
I think it's great. I've come up with 3 tangible options with your help, and this is how I will go forward. So it's great.
And how are you feeling at this point?
Relieved, to be honest. Um, so it's like what you have to do, but you are not able to do it. So I'm feeling quite de-stressed, and I actually dumped my mind here. So yeah, thank you.
Uh, is there anything which might be pending that you want to bring to the conversation for today?
Not really. I think I'll go one step at a time. So I think I've zeroed down to certain things and I'll work on them. So
Then, do I have your permission to conclude our coaching conversation for today?
absolutely.
So, Pallavi, it's been wonderful speaking and talking and conversing with you.
Same here, Anu.
Wish you all good, and we'll meet in 15 days in any case.
Yes, in 15 days with results.
So, this was a small demo of how coaching is done at Coach Mantra, and we really look forward to your feedback, which will enable us to be better coaches. Thank you for seeing.